Hey, good afternoon, John Donovan.
Hey, Marty Keller.
Hey, good to see you as always. I'd like to welcome everyone to this iteration of our Intentional Living podcast with John Donovan, who's the gentleman who developed this process, and myself. John's down in beautiful Oceanside, California, where it's probably a little cooler than it is here in Sacramento. We're about 105 degrees today.
Oh my God, we're way cooler.
But as a Sacramentan, you know what I'm talking about, the
I do know. I do know.
native of this town. So.
Uh-huh.
Hey, last week when we got together, we talked about um the one of our principles that nothing's wrong. Um, and as we in this podcast, we're spending our time here looking at the whole question of dealing with behaviors, where on the one hand we say we don't want something, and on the other hand we say that we notice stuff showing up. So
Yeah. And last week we talked about we're always getting what we want.
right. Yeah, I got that wrong.
Yeah,
So the
yeah, there
principle
you go.
was I'm always getting what I want. And so
Right.
one of the ways that we begin to demystify these behaviors, these compulsions that show up in our lives and we say we don't want them and we get upset and angry and that we blame other people and so forth, is to begin to look into the subconscious. And one of the points that you made, and I want to reemphasize today, is that roughly 99% of all the activity in our what we call the human mind is in the subconscious realm, which means we cannot see it. And so there's all
Right.
kinds of stuff that's going on all the time. And even as you and I are sitting here,
Yes.
there's our bodies are running. There's monitor. Our
Hmm.
bodies are monitoring itself, or themselves. Our minds are paying attention to what's going on. Psychic energy is circulating. Memories are living. All that stuff's going on in our subconscious. So it's
Hmm.
part of why I always appreciated the practice that you taught us is that it helped me crack the code of accessing my subconscious. And so
Yes.
part of what I love about our accountability practice here in the intentional living world is that I've learned to befriend what's in my subconscious rather than fear it, or rather than just be mystified by it. So
Right.
we have a number of principles that we do go by, and I already let the cat out of the bag about the one we want to talk about today, and the one we raised last week. I'm always going to go what I want, and this one, which is there's nothing wrong. The reason I wanted to talk about those two is because those are two that many people who, when they start this work, have the hardest time with. And so last week we looked at how can it be I want that I'm always getting what I want when stuff's happening in my life and I don't want it. And so that's why we looked into the subconscious and we looked into the way uh, childhood trauma gets caught in our subconscious if it's not healed and can continue to produce results even though we're not aware of them anymore. But today, how is it that we can say
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong? What, first of all, what do we mean by that? And then how do we learn to use that to create the life that we want to live?
This concept that nothing's wrong. I remember when I first heard you say that as a principal, and it used to like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong. And then um, I was taught to delineate good, bad, right, wrong,
Yep.
um, ad nauseum. So one of the admonitions given to children and given to me, not only from my guardians, but from the religion, and I happen to be Catholic, was
Me too.
be a good boy. Yeah, there you go. Be a good boy. Well, that good boy means I had to like identify what was bad. So I got set up in this polarized awareness, right, wrong, black and white, positive, negative, and I was told to lean towards the good, the positive, the best, and negate the negative, what I negative or wrong, or at least, and not admit to that part of myself, because if I did, in Catholic, they have levels of sin, and one of them is mortal, which means you're going straight to hell forever. So I had to be right. So the concept that nothing's wrong is a concept that I'm living in a universe, and I'm unable to simply accept what is because it doesn't fit my need to be good. Now, I could have a feeling of envy. That's the seven deadly sin. I'm wrong. But okay, so that um, negating, dismissing, not negating, dismissing those aspects of myself limited my growth. It's like one of the examples I use is um, um, saying the truth about where I'm at. Well, in this context of right wrong, I'm limited on what I can actually admit to because I need to be good, I need to be right. And negating, and we categorize feelings that way. There's negative feelings and positive feelings. We call sad, hurt, afraid, angry negative, and we call happy, excited, passionate, content positive. So we negate those emotions, which are simply our body's way of informing us about situations where there could be a concern or danger that is not, I'm not able to perceive through my five senses: see, hear, taste, touch, smell. So it's that part of emotions are not negative or positive, is the conclusion I came to and live with. They simply are what they are. And if I'm paying attention to them, they're neither negative nor positive. They're simply points of information. They're places where I find information pertinent to my capacity to keep myself safe. I used to walk into a group of men, and I would discern which ones I could beat up or not beat up and make friends with the ones I didn't think I could beat up because I wanted to be on the winning side. I'm afraid of nothing. I'm tough. I don't have feelings. Don't mess with me. And I dismissed information. I dismissed, by being good, I dismissed the experience of learning. Oh, failure. I did that wrong. Oh, that's interesting. What do I want to do next time? But if I dismiss it as bad or something I shouldn't, it's like, how could I have compassion for somebody if I don't understand my, what I want to call shadow proclivity to um, um, all aspects of life, um, my sexuality, according to the Catholic thing, they said everything's fair in the bedroom as long as you're married, and yet they had these list of things that you're going to go to hell with, and it's confusing. So whatever situation I find myself in, if I stop couching it as right, wrong, good, or bad, I can experience it and then make a choice whether I want to do that again or I want to do something different based on my growth and expansion. Um, I don't know if that made sense or could have been more confusing than what the first statement. Um, so,
Well, someday we
what
need
did
to
you
do
get out
this
of that?
before a live audience so people can ask, what did you just say? Because sometimes I get
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and or most of the times I get it. Um, so let's dig into this a little bit deeper. So in the world, we are required to discern things that have value and things that don't have value.
Right.
And we all do this. We all have a standard mechanism by which we make that discernment. That's
Right.
good for me. That's not good for me. That's not the nothing's wrong that we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is that I am full, complete, and perfect just the way I am. There's nothing wrong with me. I may
Right.
engage in behaviors that are harmful, violent, murderous, uh,
Yeah.
quote, negative, just as much as I can engage in behaviors that are loving, compassionate, creative, add something to the world. In my integrity as a human being, I can't be wrong. I can engage in behaviors that are not optimum, but I myself am not, I'm neither right nor wrong. I just am. And so
Right.
one of the reasons that we're saying nothing's wrong is that we want to start this recovery process from a position, as it says on the accountability tree, no blame, no judgment. No
Correct.
blame, no judgment. So for me, the nothing's wrong principle is a way of generalizing no blame, no judgment. And one of the things that I know I've shared this with you many times, that it took me a while to get was that there's no need for me to judge myself for judging,
Yep.
because I used to think no blame, no judgment meant judgment was bad,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to no, judgment is neither right nor wrong. Judgment's just judgment. And so the 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 assumption that there's nothing wrong is elevating our standing and understanding of ourselves to a position where of what I would call basically divine compassion, where
Yeah.
I'm willing to accept myself just as I am. And when I notice that I do things that I don't like, that I find harmful, my opportunity is to make amends, clean up my act, and go forward. Or I can just say, no, forget it. I did that and screw you.
Yeah.
So the 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 nothing's wrong principle, to my understanding, is a way to, as I said, generalize no blame, no judgment. I don't know, and I'd love your thoughts about this. I don't know how I could do recovery without having that as a backstop. No blame, no judgment.
Um, Actually, that's what's innovative about the intentional living and accountability tree is being able to state the truth of where I find myself. If I find myself mean, according to my subconscious, that was my way of surviving. Now, when I say there's nothing wrong, I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. I'm
Correct.
not saying it isn't destructive. I'm not saying it doesn't cause separation and loneliness, because it does all that. The action itself was for survival. And when I say this is wrong and I judge it, then I impact the the lie that there's something wrong with me, that I was defective, and that's the message I got infancy, childhood, that I couldn't get it right. I was the scapegoat. I was always messing up, and so when I own I'm mean now, if I go into judgment about that, I impact the trauma that caused that. So that's what is remarkable about the tree. There's nothing wrong. I'm mean. Now I can feel the impact of that meanness consciously. I remember discovering hurt, that hurt. I actually felt hurt by something that I perceived somebody to do. Um, and I actually experienced hurt. And I thought, oh, that's what other people are telling me they're feeling. And I didn't understand what they were saying. You're hurt, so what? It's like, um, I'm just trying to help you by telling you how screwed up you were, or criticizing you, or fixing you, or guiding you in the right direction, which is control. And when I felt hurt, I could then say and consciously go, I don't want to do that to other people. This hurt. This is not cool. So in this statement, I'm mean to the point of cruelty, which is a true statement for me, where I found myself based on my trauma. It's not. If I couch that as wrong, I lose the opportunity to feel the truth that's in that mean to the point of cruelty. Oh, and then make another decision. Um, this is about identifying where you're at. If I judge where I'm at, I what you resist persists. So I say, oh, I don't want to be mean. Next time I will. I'm sorry. I won't ever do that again. I go through the things I did over and over and over to change it, and nothing changed. Okay. So I was able now to get to mean to the point of cruelty and simply take a breath. Um, um, there's a word I'm looking for, the judgment and blame. Just to put it aside for a minute and just take a breath in that truth. Okay, that's what I'm hearing. Nothing's wrong. This happened. It hurts. It's destructive. So now I can realize the hurt and the depth of destruction. Oh, I intend to be kind. I intend to be gracious. I intend to be a loving, caring, nurturing spouse, father, and participant in my community. The opportunity comes open to where I can choose something different. When I judge it or I criticize it or I go into this diatribe about how I wouldn't have done that unless you, the blame part, I lose the opportunity for a transmutation of this subconscious need to survive that manifested in meanness to the point of cruelty. Oh, I intend to be kind, which now has meaning. It's has substance to it. All those times before where oh, I'm sorry, I'll never do that again, um, just didn't work. In the experience of this is what is, it's not wrong, it simply is. I intend to be different, and I can name the difference. I intend to be kind. Um, and there's on another level where Jung talks about shadow work. A lot of people talk about shadow work. Is being able to recognize and accept the depth of the dark side that we can go to without condemning ourselves to hell for that's what the Catholic Church, we're going to go to hell for the rest of your life. Scapegoat, we're going to like throw you on the embers and the burning rocks, whatever they are. Anyway, so
I
there's
want to,
nothing wrong, but it hurts.
right. I want to share with you that the first time I had this experience, this is back when you were facilitating our men's group here in Sacramento, 11,
Mm-hmm.
12, 13 years ago now. And I remember I was doing a projection exercise. So one of the things that you taught us about projection is if I have an emotional judgment about somebody else, that
Mm-hmm.
if I can say what my judgment of that person is, that person's being a selfish asshole,
Right,
one of my favorites, then you would say, okay, would you be willing to say, I'm a selfish asshole?
right,
You had challenged me to, because I had been busy, condemning someone else for some projection reason. And I remember this is what my thought process was. Okay, am I willing to say I'm a selfish asshole? And I remember what flashed into my mind was no blame, no judgment. It's like, you know what? I can say this if just in this moment I don't make being a selfish asshole wrong. It's
correct.
just a condition. If I can just do that for
Very
this
yes,
moment,
yes,
2 minutes from now I can go back to making that bad or whatever. But just for this moment, it was like I was taking a faith walk with you. that this was a possible experience I could have if I was willing to do it. So I remember taking a deep breath and saying, okay, I'm a selfish asshole. I don't remember if it was that was what it was. It doesn't matter. And
Right.
I remember feeling shame. I still had a judgment that there was something wrong with me because I was calling myself a selfish asshole. But I also had the sense in that moment that um, I had passed a test, that I had survived this truth,
Yep.
and that somehow, in some way that I didn't understand at the time, I was going to be okay, which gave me the
Yep.
courage for the next time I was finding myself doing projection to withdraw that projection back onto myself and
Right.
own whatever it was that I was seeing in somebody else. So, from a practical perspective, the reason I raise this is because, from a practical perspective, um, nothing's wrong in the moment of owning a projection changed everything. It was that was allowed me to then go on to say, I like being in debt as something I
Right.
shared last week. It's like to be able to own all of these truths that start coming out of us when we're doing this recovery, like pulling up an anchor from the depths. Every time you pull up a new yard of anchor rope, you get more slime and more junk and so forth. But it's like,
Uh,
but like, so what? Slime and junk is going to happen when stuff's been
yeah.
down in the depths for so long. It's like nothing's wrong with that. That's just the way it is.
Hmm.
So over time, it allowed me to uh, expand my embrace of everything inside of me. And as I can expand my embrace of everything inside of me, I can expand my embrace of everything inside of all of us.
Yes.
Because the truth is, there's nothing inside of me that isn't inside of everybody else.
Right.
And so the nothing's wrong, I don't read that as an invitation to indiscriminate behavior or, um, going on some kind of killing spree or
Right.
becoming an embezzler or whatever. It's not about that. I still have moral judgments. I'm still going to discern what works and what doesn't work in my life based on what I say I want. But there's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with the fact that other people may have different perspectives for themselves. Again, I may not
Yep.
agree with it. I don't have to agree with it, but I
Right.
can own that the process by which let's say you or anybody else, has come to the conclusions or where they are in their lives at that moment. There's nothing wrong with that. It's it's
All right.
it's natural. It's just
Hmm.
part of the human experience. So for me, that's what nothing's wrong is all about. From a very practical perspective, it's about learning to be to be accepting of all the elements inside of me, especially those things that I thought through my upbringing were shameful, horrible, unnatural, uh, mortal, as you said earlier.
Right. One of the sayings that I heard, I think it's Ralph Waldo Emerson. I'm not sure who said it, but the statement is, "I dare not look at the heart of an evil man, for I know the heart of a virtuous man." So that's the capacity to look at our capacity for destruction or our capacity for envy, jealousy, covetousness, larceny, lie, because it's as a virtuous man, I have all those aspects in me capable, ready at the moment. And most of my life coming from my subconscious utilized those tactics to stay safe, to create exactly what I wanted, even though that was subconscious, is to prove myself right. Um, and I'm finding that in this self-examination that I have the capacity for compassion to whoever I meet in whatever capacity, to hold an energy of non-condition, of this no blame, no judgment. Not that I don't, this actually enables me to set healthy, clear boundaries with people that I perceive, observe that they're dangerous or they're not ready or they're in their stuff. I can protect myself from it and move away and honor their journey, whatever their journey may be.
I had a a meeting with one of our colleagues this week, and he shared with me a statement I had never heard before, but I'd like to share it with us here. I'm going to put it on the screen because I think it goes to this notion of nothing's wrong, and as it takes its moment to show up
Correct.
on the screen. Um, so it's by a gentleman I never heard of before. Um, but it's this: the human soul doesn't want to be advised or fixed or saved. It simply wants to be witnessed, to be seen, heard, and companioned exactly as it is. And for
That,
me,
yeah.
this is what nothing wrong means. The human soul is not here to be fixed, to be said it's right or wrong, to be advised, doesn't need to be saved. It simply wants, now, when it says human soul here, I'm reading that as my essence,
Yes.
the essential nature of me or you or any of the other 8 billion of us on this planet and the billions of us that have come before us. None of us wants to be advised, fixed, or saved. We all just want to be witnessed. So, witness, no blame or judgment, just seen, heard, and companion exactly as we are.
Right. And the accountability process allows me to do that for myself so
Exactly.
that I now have the capacity to do that for other people. Nothing's wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah. It hurts. And it doesn't mean I got to go over there with you.
Right.
And nothing's wrong.
Right. Well, I think you said this. You said that on one of the podcasts years ago. You said nothing's wrong and there's pain.
And there's pain. Yes.
And there's nothing wrong and there's joy.
Correct.
So
My choice.
exactly. And you can't. Again, one of the things that I'm learning here is I can't repeal the laws of nature. So I can't repeal the fact that my body goes through a developmental cycle and some things become painful. I can't repeal the fact that I'm always looking to be loved. Can't repeal those things. They're part of my nature and part of all of our nature.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can witness that, as it said in the saying that we just read, if I can, if not to say if, as I witness and companion myself without blame or judgment, it ultimately leads, my experiences ultimately leads to love, which is an embrace and a sense of delight and a sense of joy in that whom I love. It's like, yeah, it's like what I do when I fire up the Zoom to have a podcast with you. I go, oh God, here's John, yay!
uh,
That's what we that's I actually do that for myself in the morning. So that's what this is about.
yes.
So as we come to the end of our time together this week, just want to see if there's any. Well, before I do that, just invite people who are watching if you'd like to participate in an accountability group practice meeting. Um, we do 4 of these a week, all on Zoom, including plus one is also in person here in Sacramento if you're here in the Sacramento region. Information on how to participate at the end of the podcast. So please feel free to join us. So before we wrap up, John, any last minute thoughts about nothing's wrong?
I'm happy for the opportunity to struggle with these concepts and to bring clarity or curiosity. I'm not sure which. I don't know which one's more
Or both.
advantageous for me, or both. Um, to something that is so dark and convoluted and cunning, baffling, and powerful, where I find myself based on simply information I just don't have, something that wasn't talked about in my life. And when I finally got into this conversation, it was like, oh, how come you didn't tell me this before? It's like, this is like vital information that I'm being driven by a subconscious need to survive, which it's not bad, it's not wrong, and it hurts.
Right.
Yeah. So
Well, we have many more principles we can talk about,
yeah.
including another one of my
Yeah.
favorites, which is it doesn't have to make sense.
Thank God. Thank God. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, John, as always, for your time, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.
You got it, Marty.
All right. Take care.
Yes. Bye bye.